Hello everyone, hope you're all having a wonderful day, and today guys I wanted to test the top 5 Ritualist builds over on Remnant 2 Toolkit to see why these builds in particular have claimed the top spot, what makes these builds so special, and who knows, maybe they'll show me how to improve my own. And if somehow you haven't heard of Remnant 2 Toolkit, well, allow me to bring you out from underneath that rock that you've clearly been spending the last goddamn year under, and allow me to bring you up to bloody speed. Remnant 2 Toolkit is arguably the best place to find any build for the game itself. Because let's be honest, it can be super overwhelming trying to remember all the items this game has to offer, so why not just let some other bigger nerd do the hard work for you? In fact, there's over 4,000 community-made builds on Toolkit alone, which is pretty crazy. And also the code to the Genesis bow puzzle is also located on the top of the page, which definitely helped me out a lot and saved me a lot of time. So thank you Remnant 2 Toolkit, where would I be without you? So if you still haven't checked out Remnant 2 Toolkit, what the bloody hell are you doing? Get on down there and check out some sick builds, bruh. So we will be checking out the top 5 rated Ritualist builds over on Remnant 2 Toolkit, just so you guys can see these builds working from a third-party perspective and still shredding through Apocalypse difficulty with absolute ease. But I also want to take this time and this video to also shout out plenty of other amazing content creators and build creators that have definitely done a massive service to this community. I'm a big fan of the Ritualist archetype, so I am definitely excited to see what other people have cooked up. Everyone's build link will be in a pinned comment down in the comment section. I would put it in the description, but who even fucking checks the description these days? So at least if it's in a pinned comment, you guys have a higher chance of actually seeing it. So let's not muck around any longer. Let's jump into the top 5 rated Ritualist builds for Remnant 2. So first up, we're going to be talking about the highest rated Ritualist build over on Toolkit, and it is by a very popular content creator as well. You've probably heard of him. It's none other than Mr. Nacho's Invoker Ritualist Lifesteal AoE Farmer. I think there is a pretty good reason why this build is the top rated Ritualist build over on Toolkit, because trust me when I say that this build slaps harder than Chris Brown slapped his partners. So I'm just going to quickly show you everything he is taking, and then I'm just going to get straight into the clips so you guys can actually see this build working. So this build is utilizing Invoker and Ritualist. So Mr. Nacho is using Way of Kaiola, arguably one of the strongest skills in the game. He is also utilizing Death Wish with Ritualist. There's the Magnifying Glass, Burden of Destroyer, Burden of the Sciolist, I think that's how you say that, Sciolist, Stone of Malevolence, and also Token of Favor. He's got the Profane Heart, he's got Disciple Headpiece, Disciple Mantle, Nightstalker Pants, and High Noon Arm Guard. For the weapons, Monolith Long Gun with Spellweaver, we got Krellax with Tented Blade, and we got Nebula with the Feedback Mutator. And for the traits, there's 10 Flashcaster, 10 Fortify, 10 Swiftness, 10 Spirit, 10 Amplitude, 10 Siphoner, 10 Leech, 10 Expertise, 10 Vigor, and that is it. Unfortunately, I don't have Leech because I don't play co-op, so I have no one to help me get fucking Leech. So I did actually take 10 points out of Leech and put it into Kinship because he is using Death Wish, and I thought, you know, Death Wish was actually getting me killed, so I just put 10 points into Kinship. Completely mitigates that issue and does make this build just perform a little bit better instead of AoE farming. That's probably the only change you'd have to do, take 10 points out of Leech, put it into Kinship. That way you can use Death Wish without fully nuking yourself. And then for the Fragment, he does have mod duration, skill cooldown, and cast speed. And then I wouldn't really worry about too much about the Prism. You can have a look at the Prism setup that he has got here if you could put it together. Put it together. So my Prism was definitely not the same as Mr. Nacho's here. I definitely don't have Jack of all trades. My Legendary Fragment was obsolete when I was testing out this build. So everything you're seeing on screen is basically without the Prism. So if you like what you see, just imagine the Prism there, and it's going to be working a hell of a lot better. So now you guys should be seeing the clips on screen while I talk a little bit more about Mr. Nacho's build here. Like I said, Mr. Nacho absolutely cooked with this build. This build is a very solid all-round build. I had a lot of fun with it. It has great skill cooldown with the Spell Weaver, and obviously just using the Invoker class in general. I thought the mod generation was pretty good because when you have Way of Kaiola out and it's dropping all the lightning bolts down on the enemy, it does regenerate a good portion of your mod power, so you shouldn't really have any downtime too much on the Nebula and the Sandstorm. You should be always able to keep them out consistently, which I thought was a lot of fun. And it's just such a lazy and easy build to use to get through Apocalypse difficulty. I really had no trouble whatsoever. I don't even think I died in the 2 boss rushes that I did do with this build. Yeah, pretty solid all-round build. Good skill cooldown. You're going to be spamming Wave Cola, you're going to be spamming Sandstorm and Nano Swarm. You're basically letting everything else do the work for you, and you just walk all the way to the finish line. And massive props to Mr. Nacho. If you have not heard of Mr. Nacho, for whatever reason, maybe you're still living under that same rock, I will pop his video to this build up on screen now, and that will also be in the pinned comment down in the comment section. Make sure you go and check him out. He does awesome Remnant 2 content and a lot of amazing builds. So now moving on over to the second highest rated Ritualist build over on Toolkit, and would you friggin' believe it, Lord behold, it's Mr. Nacho again. Of course it is. Could someone please get this man out of the kitchen? He's making us all look bad, okay? He really is. So yes, we have another Mr. Nacho build here. This man really does go above and beyond for the Remnant 2 community, so make sure you go and check out his channel. This is another very solid build. It is utilizing Ritualist and Warden. The Ritualist skills that Mr. Nacho is taking is Miasma and also the Drone Shield. He's taking Energized Net Coil, my fucking favorite amulet in the whole entire game. Arguably one of the best amulets in the whole entire game, respectively. He's using the Ahane Crystal, Burden of Destroyer, Timekeeper's Jewel, and also Generating Band. He's got the Fatir Sensor, the Fatir Chassis, the Battle Slacks, and also the Fatir Crushes. That's for his armor. He's got the Tranquil Heart, which unfortunately I don't have because fuck Nightweaver in a stupid web and trying to get it to reroll on campaign. I can't be bothered. I know I need to. I'm too lazy. I will get there eventually. But Mr. Nacho does have the Tranquil Heart. I can't even remember what heart I was using, but I was using something else, probably the Profane Heart or something. For the weapons, he does have the Sparkfire Shotgun with Overflowed Mod and Featured Wound. He's got Krellax with Tainted Blade. And then he's got everybody's favorite piss spewing gun, the Nebula. And it is kitted out with the Harmonizer Mutator. For traits, we have 10 to Flashcaster, 10 to Strongback, 10 to Vigor, 10 to Expertise, 10 to Bloodstream, 10 to Amplitude, 10 to Spirit, 10 to Tri-Age, and then also 10 to Fortify. And for the Prisms, he does have skill cooldown, health bonus, and also status effect damage. Now this build is very solid, but I gotta be honest, I like the first build better, Mr. Nacho. The first one is a little bit better, it's easy to use, and it does do a hell of a lot more damage. But this build is definitely more defensive than the first Mr. Nacho build. There was never an issue when I was using this build that I was worried that I was going to die. Even if you get put in a bad spot, the Generating Band and your drone putting shield on you and you just having shield in general is enough to get you out of most sticky situations. But don't get me wrong, the damage on this build is very respectable as well. Like I said, Energized Net Coil is putting in a hell of a lot of work for you here. It is such a strong amulet. With this particular setup as well, you want to try and prioritize using Nebula, spraying the Nebula a little bit more because it does have such a high dot that it is just going to do a hell of a lot more damage with Energized Net Coil. But it is nice to have the Sparkfire Shotgun to also get Energized Net Coil to proc at distance. So overall, very solid build. It might not have the best damage, but it does have really good defensive properties. Defensively, I like this build a hell of a lot more, but the first Mr. Nacho build definitely slaps a lot harder. So as I mentioned at the end of the first Mr. Nacho one, this link will be down in the pinned comment as well. Make sure you check it out. All right, moving on over to the third highest rated Ritualist build over on Toolkit. Now this is another person that you might have heard their name before, and maybe even just seeing Ritualist paired up with Alchemist might even give away who this build belongs to. It is none other than Dots R Us likes dots, and yes, I can confirm Dots R Us indeed likes his dots. So of course, would you believe it, guys, we got Ritualist here. Dots is kitted out with the Eruption skill. Very good skill. I am very fond of Eruption. And then he has Alchemist as his second class with the Vile Elixir of Life skill, which this skill is really good. It's basically just a get out of jail free card, kind of like the Challenger's Prime perk and also the Handler's Prime perk. As long as you have this active, if you die, you will get back up, and it gives you really good health regeneration while you have this buff active. And for the amulets and rings, and just like Mr. Nacho, Dots is a man of culture, a man of integrity, and he is also using the Energized Net Coil, arguably one of the best amulets in the game. We have the Ahane Crystal, one of the strongest rings in the game. We have Timekeeper's Jewel, which you kind of do need with Energized Net Coil. Not needed depending what setup you're using, but Timekeeper does go quite well with Energized Net Coil. We have Burden of the Destroyer and Red Ring of Death, which is nice because we're just going to be able to duplicate one of our last status effects that we did apply on the target. He's running the Zealot's Hat, the Fail Royal Bodyguard, the Labyrinth Shreds, and also the Void Wrapped. With the Salvaged Heart, I actually do have this heart, so you will see that one on. For the weapons, he does have the Sparkfire Shotgun with Hot Shot mod with Twisting Wounds Mutator. He's got Krellax with Tainted Blade and Star Shot with Featured Wounds and the Big Bang mod. He's got 10 points in the Kinship, 10 points in the Vigor, 10 points in Expertise, 4 points in the Bloodstream, 10 points in the Handling, 10 to Glutton, 10 to Amplitude, 3 to Spirit, 3 to Regrowth, 10 to Long Shot, and also 10 to Fortify. For the fragments, status damage, health bonus, and skill cooldown. Now, I had a lot of fun with this build, Dots. This build is really, really solid. I personally did a build very similar to this recently using the Starshot Big Bang with the Energized Net Coil. Fantastic way to utilize those two items. Big Bang, it does a shit ton of damage, but it also does fire damage, and this will scale up based on how many charges you use, I think. So when you use 5 charges while you have Energized Net Coil on, not only do you hit for like 6-7k with the Big Bang 5 charge shot, Energized Net Coil will now proc from the fire damage, and that hits for a decent chunk of damage too, like 2, 3, 4k I think. And then this can be boosted with explosive damage, status effect damage. There's all different ways that you can actually further increase these two interactions. But either way, I really do like Starshot paired up with Energized Net Coil. It is very, very strong. This is a bit of a fire build as well, because you have the Sparkfire Shotgun, the Hot Shot, the Big Bang mod, and also the Red Ring of Death, duplicating that fire status effect, because that's pretty much the main status effect you are applying. So the overall build is very fun. It's very strong to use. You have fantastic damage. You have really good survivability with the Elixir of Life. Mod generation is a little bit left to be desired, but I didn't think it was that much of an issue. You just have to use the Starshot's primary fire every now and then to just rebuild those Big Bang charges back up. And same thing with Sparkfire Shotgun. You fire off a couple of rounds and you're going to get the Hot Shot mod back fairly quickly. So yeah, this is a very solid overall build, and I really do think Dots R Us cooked as a very tasty meal with this bad boy. So if you do want to try out Dots R Us's awesome build, it also will be pinned down in the comment section below. Make sure you check it out. Give the man some love. All right, guys, I hope you're still with me. I hope I haven't bored you to death, because we're moving on over to the 4th highest rated Ritualist build over on Toolkit. And this build, look, it needs no introduction, okay? It's friggin' Mr. Nacho again. Would you believe it? This man is putting in the hours to get this content out for us. It is absurd. Like I said, he is putting the rest of us to shame. So I don't think we need to explain who Mr. Nacho is. I think he's had enough screen time in this top 5 Ritualist build. Like I said, man goes hard. He puts a lot of time and effort into the community. So go and give him a subscription if you have not. So if you ever wanted to feel like a goddamn juiced up Giga Chad inside Remnant 2, this build is probably going to have you covered. I know there's a lot of other tanky builds out there. There's plenty of them out there, but I was actually surprised with how good and how tanky you actually are with this friggin' build. Like I said, Mr. Nacho, he is cooking far too much up in that kitchen. So for the 2 archetypes that Mr. Nacho is running with this setup, he's got Alchemist with Vilestone Mist, and he's also got Ritualist with the Death Wish skill again. For the amulets and the rings, he's got the Nightmare Spiral, he's got the Atonement Fold, the Alchemy Stone, the Hardcore Metal Band, and the Cataloger's Jewel. For the weapons, he's got Chicago Typewriter with the Overflow mod, kitted out with the Twisting Wounds Mutator, Krellax with Tainted Blade, and the Nebula with the Harmonizer Mutator. For the trait cards, 10 Fortify, 10 Spirit, 10 Bark Skin, 10 Siphoner, 10 Ammo Reserve, 10 Kinship, 10 Vigor, 10 Expertise, and also 10 Leech. And then for his fragments, he has health bonus, damage reduction, and also range fire rate. Now, I'm going to be honest, when I first saw this build, I didn't really have high hopes. I didn't know what to expect either, but I was like, it's rated very highly, so, you know, it's got to work at least, unless people are sucking Mr. Nacho's asshole a little bit too hard. No, 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 no. They're definitely not, because this build is actually way, way better than I could ever picture it being. So the way this build works is you're just going to stand still, you're going to shoot and fire at the boss. The boss is going to come over, he's going to start hitting you in, pounding you into the ground, and you're just going to palm it off like nothing fucking happened. This build face tanks very, very well. The only exception is you need to be shooting with the Chicago typewriter to get that lifesteal kicking in. Otherwise, you do get swatted around more than a bloody fly on a summer day. As long as you're dishing out damage, you are somewhat invincible, basically. Now, a little small complaint, but it is to be expected when you are using a tank build, is that you're just not going to have as much damage as some other builds that you might use or run, and that's fine. It's not like this build has no damage. This build has respectable damage. It's just nowhere near as good as the other builds I just showcased for you. But like I said, that doesn't matter when you can face tank through everything. You stand there like a goddamn brick wall and just keep taking a beating without falling over. There's something special about that, and there's also something really fun about that as well, just being able to face tank everything. So overall, this is another Mr. Nacho W. This build is pretty solid. It's very tanky, pretty much almost indestructible as long as you're dealing damage with that lifesteal kicking in. Now, last but not least, boys, we finally made it to the end of this list of the top 5 highest rated Ritualist builds on Toolkit. And this is from an unknown contender. A new challenger steps into the ring to give us all a run for our money in making a really, really awesome build. And I gotta be honest, this person absolutely knocked it out of the stadium. So this is the Sacrificial Pyromancer, but by none other than Kelmirosu. I'm butchering their name so bad, and I'm making a goddamn fool of myself. So we got Kel's build here, the Sacrificial Pyromancer. I apologize for butchering your name. I could kind of tell that this was probably going to work, but I haven't used Firestorm or like a fire build since the new update. I wasn't sure if it still worked because they kind of nerfed Firestorm a little bit. Well, even though they've nerfed it, it still kicks ass in Apocalypse difficulty. It might not be as strong and as crazy as it was before, but it still puts in work the old Firestorm mod. Now, Kel here has got Ritualist and Archon as the archetypes with the Death Wish and the Chaos Gate skill. For the amulets and the rings, Kel's got the Talisman of the Sun, Firestone, Band of Fanatic, Singe Ring, and also the Red Ring of Death. They've got the True Crimson Crown, the Leto Mark, 2 Armor, the Fey Royal Greaves, the Fey Royal Vambraces. Also got the Profane Heart. This is the Lifesteal Heart. For the weapons, they've got Sparkfire Shotgun with Hot Shot and Feeded Wounds. They've got Krellax with Tainted Blade. I'm pretty sure every single build had Krellax. All hail the Krellax. Apparently it's the best melee weapon in the game, guys. And then for the sidearm, they have the Service Pistol with Firestorm and the Spell Weaver Mutator. For the trait cards, they got 10 Fortify, 10 Vigor, 2 Expertise, 10 to Bark Skin, 8 to Leech, 10 to Siphoner, 10 Insight, 10 Amplitude, 10 Spirit, and 10 Kinship. And then for the fragments, they got stats effect damage, mod damage, and skill cooldown. And then for the Prism, that's their Prism setup there. The Legendary Fragment, they recommend Jack of all trade. So this build is really, really fun to use. I felt like this build had some really, really good synergy with the Spellweaver, getting your skills back. Like you can just use Death Wish and Chaos Gate kind of freely, knowing that when you spam a few Firestorms, you're going to be getting Death Wish and Chaos Gate back very quickly. This creates a nice loop where you're always kind of staying in Death Wish, you're putting Chaos Gates down, just to nuke through a lot of adds and mobs a lot faster without having to worry about when you get to a boss like in a boss rush that you're not going to have your skills, because you're going to get your skills back very quickly when you spam Firestorm. So I really like that aspect of the build. But all you really need to do with this fire build is just spam Firestorm, keep your skills up, keep applying those fire dots onto the enemy. They do a very decent chunk of damage. You just have to keep reapplying the fire status effect kind of often because of the Band of Fanatic. Band of Fanatic is going to reduce your status effect duration, but it does give you increased status effect damage. But it just means you have to keep reapplying those fire status effects pretty consistently to keep your damage consistently ticking away at the enemy. But I didn't really find that to be an issue. I mean, you get your mod back. The mod generation is very solid with this setup. You're doing so much elemental damage, so much damage with Firestorm that your mods do generate pretty quickly. Now, survivability on this build is definitely something left to be desired. It's not the worst, but it definitely isn't the best either, running Chaos Gate and Death Wish. But to be fair, I'm not the best player. I fuck up constantly, and I didn't really, I think I died once in a boss rush, that's it. I think, yeah, the survivability brings the build down a little bit, but it more than makes up for its survivability negative by having just so much good damage with your Firestorm, your Sparkfire Shotgun, and just being able to further increase this damage very easily with Chaos Gate and Death Wish. So overall, very solid build. It's got great damage, good mod generation, good skill cooldown, and it's just overall very, very fun to use. I had a lot of fun with this build. Even though it's the 5th highest rated Ritualist build, I would probably put this up a little bit higher. No offense to anybody else on the list, but I don't know, there was something about this build that just tickled my pickle a little bit more. And that is basically it for this video. Hopefully I wasn't grifting or farming too much here. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. There's nothing else to make content on at the moment. We're waiting for a goddamn update. It didn't come out today, so it must be next week, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it is going to be an absolute banger of an update. So I'm going to try and cut this down as much as possible. I don't want it to be too long. If you guys do want to see more top 5, you know, highest rated builds on Toolkit, leave a like, let me know in the comment section below. Appreciate all love and support as always, guys, and until next time, stay safe, peace out.